friend with us. That's right. Her name is Darlene Espontaneo. That's right. Where's your family from, Darlene?
My mother's side, which is the de Grava side, is from northern Italy, Veneto. And my father's side, the Spontaneo side, is from Abruzzo.
Wow.
So we're going to make polenta today, and I'm going to show you the two versions, the northern version and the southern version.
That's right. So we're gonna make for how many people today we're cooking?
4 to 6 people.
4 to 6 people. And so how many ingredients do we need?
We have 3 cups of cornmeal. We have 1 pound of mushrooms. We have spinach, which is 2 packages, like a 20-ounce package of spinach.
Like 8 cups.
Right. And then we have homemade broth, which would use 6 cups of that, or store-bought, whatever you would prefer. And then we have garlic.
Yeah, we have 2 head of garlics there that we smashed.
Yes. And then of course we're going to use Papa Vince olive oil and Papa Vince sauce, because we will put the sauce over the polenta, and then when the spinach and mushrooms are cooked, we serve it with that.
Great. Are you ready to go?
Okay, to start the polenta, I have 3 cups of cornmeal in here, and it takes 6 cups of liquid. Chicken broth, water, whichever you prefer, but chicken broth makes it much better. So I've already put 3 cups of broth in the pot. You need to bring this to a boil. And while that's boiling, you take the other 3 cups of broth and mix it into the cornmeal. And the reason for this is, when you add this to the boiling broth, you want it to be smooth, and you don't want lumps, and you don't want it to boil up on you. Polenta gets very hot, and it can splash and bubble, and when it does that, you could get burnt. I can remember making polenta one New Year's Eve. We always had polenta on New Year's Eve, and my mother was making polenta, and she wasn't paying attention, and it bubbled up on her, and it burned 3 layers of her skin. We had to take her to the hospital. So you have to be careful. After it starts boiling, you have to turn it down. And you can see here how this becomes liquid, and all the cornmeal is mixed up into it. And now it's ready to put it into the boiling broth. So we're going to cook the mushrooms next, and they take a little longer than the spinach we talked about before. So we're going to start with a little bit of virgin olive oil, Papa Vince, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. We're going to take a half a head of garlic, which we all love garlic. You can see the garlic. We're going to put it in there. And what we want to do is heat the oil with the garlic to release the flavor of the garlic. Once that is heated and you can smell the flavor of the garlic coming up, then we will add our mushrooms and of course our Papa Vince salt. But we can put a little bit of salt on the mushrooms now and just wait for this to heat up. Okay, you see that the garlic is bubbling, and you can just smell the aroma of the garlic. Once it gets to that consistency, then you're going to add all your mushrooms in there. These mushrooms will probably take a good 15 minutes to cook. And you just put them in there, and there's not much else you can do except give them a stir once in a while until they're cooked dry. I don't like a wet mushroom because then it's going to ruin the taste of the polenta. So you just leave them in the oil, and you may have to add a little oil later, but we'll check on that as we go. And now you let them cook. Okay, so now we're going to start with the spinach. The spinach won't take long at all, but we're going to start with Papa Vince extra virgin olive oil in the bottom of the pan, and we're going to use the same process as we did with the mushrooms. We're going to add our garlic, and garlic is very important being Italian, you know that. And we're going to let it heat up till the aroma comes out. Once the aroma comes out with the garlic, then we will add the spinach with some salt and just let it wilt down. It's heated and it's bubbling like that. You reduce your heat to medium, add your spinach. Now, this may look like a lot of spinach, but when we're done, it's going to cook down to nothing. So there's our spinach. We're going to add a little bit of the sea salt from Papa Vince. And I like a little bit of pepper, but that's optional for you. It's just whatever you like. And then we're going to put a lid on this, and we're just going to let it steam down. And that's your spinach. As you can see, there's water in it, and you don't want that water in the spinach. So now it's time to remove the lid and let it cook down. And the same way with the mushrooms, if you'll notice, they have developed water from the cooking and the salt. So now we're just going to let them cook down to get dry. So as you recall, we put 3 cups of broth in our pot, and it's to a boil now, and so I have reduced the heat to medium. And we have 3 cups of broth in here with 3 cups of cornmeal. Now we're going to add this to the broth very slowly and mix, because you don't want it to splash up on you and you don't want it to get lumpy. Once we get it all incorporated, then you have to stir the polenta constantly, or else it will lump up and burn and bubble. And as I said, we do not want that to happen. So once I get all this in here, you're going to be able to see how smooth and creamy it is. See how smooth and creamy it is? And then it's going to start to bubble, and we have it on medium heat. And now we're just going to stir it, which will take 10 to 15 minutes. And our mushrooms and spinach are cooking right along with it. Go. As you can see now, the polenta is starting to thicken, and you have to keep stirring, and then it'll get to a creamy consistency. And my judging is when I lift up my spoon and it doesn't drip off like that, it's done. But we're not even close to that. Polenta is now thickened. And remember, I told you about not coming off the spoon. See how it sticks? It's not falling off the spoon. That means the polenta's done. It's nice and creamy and smooth. So now we will take it off, put it on a platter, and it's time to eat. Manja. So once we have it plated, then we're going to do the fresh Parmigiano Reggiano. And as you can see, one piece fell out, but that's okay. It's good just to pick it up and eat it like that. And then we're just going to grate this over it. And then we're going to present it.